Don't Give Up Your Day Job, a local musician's guide. By me, Paul Gillings. An educational and sometimes humorous look at what it's like to be part of the local music scene. Well, here we are, another edition of Don't Give Up Your Day Job, the local musician's guide. Now, I don't get many requests, but when I do, I love it. I absolutely love it. I always put out there, will you contact me? Do you want to come and talk about what you do? Talk about our local music scene? And another bod that got in touch with me is sitting here with me in this extremely hot. Is it hot? Has anyone mentioned it in the past? No one's mentioned that it's warm at all, have they? So, but yeah, it's warm. So we have got a window open, and there's some sound of some roadworks outside. But here to tell me all about his music, his love of heavy metal, which is anything I don't know anything about, is Mr. Daniel Finch. Good afternoon, sir.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks for coming over, buddy, and thanks for getting in touch.
You're welcome.
We were just talking.
You got to support these things, like people don't, do enough of it. So, anyone that's, I guess, doing something, I'm going to get behind it, man. You know what I mean?
Well, bless you, because we were just talking about it before I clicked the record button. And the red light fever set in, and I had a coughing fit. That you were talking about a documentary of the rock musicians that had come out of our particular town of Lowestoft. Because there's been a fair few, hasn't there? Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, there was that. I can't remember the name of the documentary, but I guess it was a year, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. There was a documentary about Lowestoft, and like I was saying to you that there wasn't any mention of any of the, not just saying with the rock or the metal guys, but any music in it at all. And I just thought, hang on, there's a whole. Well,
it's meant to be arts, isn't it? You gave me that list
of bods we had come out recently with like Darkness.
Wasn't Catherine Wheeler from Yarmouth, weren't
Catherine Wheeler mostly from Yarmouth, but I think Neil the drummer lived in Lowestoft for a while, so we'll have them as well.
We'll have them, yeah.
We'll have them, they were great.
I'm sure there was a goth band that went and did stuff. There's obviously Jason Arp, he wrote for Kerrang, and I think he was editor of Q at one point.
Yeah, Kerrang.
I could tell loads of stories about him, but I won't. Then you had my mate Steve Woodcock, who ended up session bass for. Did he do the Sugar Babes or someone like that?
We've got pop stuff. So we've got British Lion as well.
British Lion guys,
We've said the Darkness already, but worth mentioning twice. Obviously. So I think I was at school one of them, but I can't remember them from school for toffee.
No.
But lots of good stuff, and your good self punting out heavy metal tunes. I've been having a little look through your history and stuff like that since we got in touch. And, mate, you're a productive old fellow, aren't you?
Used to be, yeah. Fucking hell, now.
Yeah, we were just talking about sort of the home studio, and getting that together again. So the laptop's got dusted off as if to record some.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, weirdly, my friend Paul came over last night, who I do a lot of the Dead Soul stuff with and things like that.
So that's Dead Soul Communion is your current band, is it?
Well, it's been a couple of years, but I remember going to his house and him having one of them Fostex 4-tracks.
Yep, I've talked about those a few times on the show. I love them.
And we wanted to get like a reverbed acoustic guitar sound, so we stuck a mic in the toilet. Do you know what I mean? But then you had 4 tracks to play with, so it was like, we've got to start bouncing, and you remember the old days.
Yeah,
I mean?
once it's bounced down, you're fucked.
You're fucked. The drums aren't loud enough now, the drum machine. And
Isaac Lister, who recorded the vocals in his wardrobe, because he wanted to deaden the sound and stuff like that. So we love a bit of DIY musicianship.
Yeah, but now it's all Pro Tools, that I'll copy and paste. Not that I do that.
mate, until I started having guitar lessons, like my first album, if I could play the riff well once, that would do for me. And then
I don't move notes, I just play it to it's fucking right, and that's about it, right?
That's the one. But mate, I mean, I really wanted to ask you, about heavy metal music.
Yeah.
Because it's not anything I profess to know anything about. And I've been aware of it. And my dad had an opinion about heavy metal music, because he was into what he would call proper heavy metal, of course, or old school heavy metal. So he was into like your Black Sabbath, Deep Purple. Now, is that considered to be old school? Tell me about your love of heavy metal.
As a kid, my mum had, like Beatles records and all the stuff, the Stones.
Because we're about the same age, right? So our parents are probably about the same age, sort of late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah. Right. So my mum had the first 2 Black Sabbath albums, and I was really, as a young kid, I'm talking probably 5 or 6, I was really into horror stuff.
Oh wow! So because the genre seems to go hand in hand with sort of horror and the macabre and stuff. Would I be right in thinking that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So she had the first. I don't know if you know the first Black Sabbath album cover. It's basically this really awesome picture of this witch, and it scared the shit out of me as a kid. So I was just fascinated by, and obviously the first track with the bells and all this kind of stuff, and the sort of thunderstorms. That was was just really drawn to it. But then obviously, then you're a kid, you get into wrestling and BMX bikes, and you grow up, and then
you have 1,000 hobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
One, doesn't
Always going backwards. So then,
Yeah.
when I was about, I guess, 12, my brother had this friend called James, and we used to go over to his house. He'd lived on a farm at Lound. And he had all these posters of like Bon Jovi and Whitesnake and Poison and all this.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, what's this?
So a bit more hair metal, is that what it's called? Because I mentioned briefly before we came on about subgenres of metal as well, and how many thousand are. So is that, was that hair metal? Or
I guess it was glam rock, where they called it, or glam metal, or whatever.
Yeah.
But then, so from that, going back to sort of Mum's record collection, she had Def Leppard Hysteria and Bon Jovi Slippery and Wet. So this would have been 88, 89, I guess.
Okay, so we're heading towards the 90s.
ZZ Top was one. It's probably hence the beard now, probably.
Loving it.
But so that sort of started, and I started listening to this stuff and being sort of fascinated by it. Then it was like, you get into Iron Maiden, you get into Metallica
Iron Maiden
whatever.
were an obvious one, because they even charted early noughties. Was it Daughter to the Slaughter and stuff
1990.
like that? Yeah, they charted like fairly. Even I remember that being around at school and stuff, and I was aware of them before. I had a friend at school, Stephen Shepherd, who was really, really into heavy metal. He had Van Halen's album, and we were like 14, and he said, and for unlawful carnal knowledge. Oh look, it spells fuck. Oh, we rude. Oh, we naughty. But he really liked Ozzy Osbourne, and the sort of the new, not new metal, but the newer stuff. Yeah. That was coming forward. That was, I guess, was progressing from. Would you say Black Sabbath and this is where Van Halen was sort of. Not Van Halen. Oh God, the one we literally just mentioned, Iron Maiden, was sort of heading more towards that sort of horror-induced sort of.
But that scared me. Like, but look now, it's kind of funny. But like, I remember going into, I think it was probably our price. So when we had record shops, and I remember looking at one of the Iron Maiden records and turning it over and thinking, oh, they look really scary.
So were you like drawn to it? Was it some sort of like?
Oh yeah, it was the artwork, because it's all the monster artwork. So when I used to buy records, it wasn't, because this is before YouTube and where you could literally or Apple or Spotify or wherever, where you could literally listen to something. Yeah. You had to go in, pick up a record
and go.
The cover looks cool, right? And the guy on the back looks great. I'll have this. But then obviously me and my friends always reminisce about like. We probably had 7 record shops. But you went like Jive and Discord and Records Exchange and Martin.
Have you seen Orcs down the road here?
No, I haven't been in there.
AUX,
I daren't go in there.
Because you lose all your money.
Because I was like, fuck me, I want all this shit. I got no record player, I just fucking want it on my wall, right?
I came home with 10 CDs and I don't even know how it happened. So I just walked
out
with a handful of CDs going, no, it happened in there. I just started lost it. And I went in a little vortex. My wife was like, you've been in there an hour. I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a great shop. And I think there's also jazz records up the other top of town as well. They don't just do jazz records, but we've got 2. But you're right, the whole top of town there was all of those things. But I remember like horror video covers scaring me. My dad was a bit of a film buff as well, and we used to go in a video shop on the covers, but I couldn't look away from them. Now I read in I did a history degree, and I read about sort of with the Colosseum, people couldn't look away. They couldn't look away from the violence that was happening in front of them. Was that a bit of it? Was it a bit sort of like the psychology of that looks horrible. But I can't look away.
That's the whole. I mean, that's the whole subject in itself, isn't it? It's like why are people fascinated by violent, real life violent videos on Facebook or whatever?
But this is fantasy stuff, right? With heavy metal and the covers they were doing, but so expertly drawn. And like I said to you before, everything about heavy metal, that, in my observation, is so incredibly well done. It's like the musicians are classically trained. Some of the riffs and the runs and the way the music's put together, it's an orchestra as far as I can tell. So what's that about? Was that a draw for you as well?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know. I think in honesty, it was the kind of horror monster aspect of it. But obviously, then being 12, you get into puberty. So you want to make sure you don't get laid. So therefore, you get into heavy metal.
That's why I picked up a mouth organ.
Yeah.
Long ginger hair and I played a harmonica.
I'm far too attractive. I'm going to grow a mullet now and try and grow a moustache. And definitely not going to get laid. But I guess I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. No. To be honest. I just think it was that
Was that
fascination.
another
with horror-
layer, possibly? Because it seems to me like whenever I get into it, I see what attracts me to it in the first place, and then as I get into it, I sort of find other stuff about it and reasons to love it.
Yeah.
So what then was sort of what sort of metal? Because then there's like, so there's doom metal.
Doom metal, yeah.
Yeah, is that something that does it for you as well? Is
Yeah,
it all
some
kinds of
of it.
metal? Is there a kind of metal you don't like? Rap metal.
No, I like rap. I like
You
all
like
of it.
rap?
But the thing
You
is,
like
see
all of it?
now, like, I was listening to some sort of Americana music this week.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll listen to like extreme black metal and death metal.
Black metal,
And then
okay.
literally the next album will be, you know, some chilled out world music. Do you know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
you know, I like some pop songs.
So after you'd heard the heavy metal album that your mum listened to, I take it as a lot of pop stuff, rock stuff in the charts was all a bit wet and a bit lame.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit kind of like.
I mean, I had Bon Jovi. I think I had a 12-inch of The Final Countdown, which I hate that song. But I had, Def Leppard Hysteria, Bon Jovi, Super Wet, the first two Black Sabbath albums, and there was another one, ZZ Top Eliminator. That was my first little collection that my parents had kind of given me.
Yeah.
Then after that, I can't remember what I'd bought. Probably Iron Maiden. But then it was the same thing, like going into shops and picking up stuff and going, "What's this?" And then finding Sepultura and going, then going to my friend's house, going, "Listen to this."
Yeah.
The man's going, whatever. You know what I mean?
That vocal? Is it? Because I heard the other day that someone told me that was a special technique that you have to learn. So what's involved with that? What's that about?
I mean, I can do it,
raw?
but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I do it.
Okay.
I mean, I've watched various things you find on YouTube.
It might sound like the daftest question in the
Yeah.
world. Does it hurt?
I've got vocal damage from 2002.
Where you got like nodes or something?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Because I did an album with a band called Pain Control, the one that I have got a non-disclosure agreement with, but it's been so long now I can't talk about it. And the funny thing about it was I was singing on that album, so when they were doing the drums and the guitars, I was sat, and this is the truth, this isn't me like trying to do rock and roll, this is when you could still smoke in place. I sat with I think it was like 20 Marlboro and a bottle of Jack Daniels, and me and the bass player sat next to each other, and I was smoking cigarettes, drinking Jack Daniels, getting drunk off my face with a handheld mic, doing the vocals, so the drummer could follow the tracks.
Wow.
And then they had obviously spent quite a lot of money, so then I had, I think it was 6 days to record all the vocals again.
Yeah.
And after the first day, I blew my throat out.
Right. Wow.
So I couldn't, because I always wanted to think, well, it's a record, it's forever.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you're going to scream on it, you're going to scream the loudest you
Play it,
can,
yeah,
right?
play it like your
so
life
I
depends
blew
on
my
your
throat.
last gig.
Yeah, because I had no vocal lessons, I didn't know what I was doing, so I blew my throat out. So the second day I couldn't sing. The producer's like, well, he's done. You know, we'll just let him have a couple of days off, and we'll. And the band were like, no, we're paying for this.
Oh my God.
So I couldn't even talk. So I'm kind of trying to like scream and go, do you know what I mean?
Jesus.
So then at the end of it, the funny thing was when it went to this other guy to mix it, he had 80 or 90% of the vocals used were from me sat on that sofa drinking, because they
that was
were
the last
more
time they were
raw
any
and
good,
more vibe.
Wow. So it is a specialist technique. You don't know how you particularly do it, but yeah, that's wow. Yeah, it's because it seems to like vocalists flick in and out of it depending upon what the song needs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So is there a formula to sort of heavy metal songs, even in a cliche way? I mean, I'm a blues man. It's riddled with cliches. Like the formula is the 12-bar blues, I guess, and stuff like that. Is there an equivalent to heavy metal? Is there sort of, you know?
Well, I think,
does it have what constitutes a song being heavy metal?
If you think about pop music's usually about, you know, the lyric.
Yeah.
Or,
usually being in love, falling out of love.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be in 4/4. It's got to be between 120 beats per minute and 160 or whatever it is, and stuff like that. So is there a formula that
with
would
metal, I
negate
think
heavy
it's.
metal?
I remember we had this conversation when we talked about royalties on the Devilment record, because with obviously pop music, it's about the lyric. So what tends to happen with royalties is 50% goes to the music and 50% goes to the lyricist.
Okay.
So like you Elton John and whatever the guy's name is, would split down the middle. But obviously with pop music, that may be 70-30.
Right.
Because on the lyric side or the vocal side, because that's the hook. So
I see.
when it comes to metal, it's about the riff.
Ah, okay.
So if you've got a really, really strong riff,
that's where all the thing comes from, right?
is that, the thing, like that riff and that part is the bit that everyone remembers.
Right.
And sort of bangs their little heads to, and
I see. Yeah.
and have a jolly good time.
Jolly good headbanging time, isn't it? Well, marvellous, mate. So, yeah, I think I've, made some great, I mean, that's an insight into heavy metal I didn't know before.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I'm the wrong person. I don't
really?
know. I mean, I can probably tell you how I write songs, but
Well, you've had a very prolific career by the looks of things, and you touched on the professional a few times. I know that you talk because with this podcast about not giving up your day job, and about DIY musicianship and stuff like that. But at the minute you're plastering for a living, right? But was there a time you were a professional musician? Because by the look of your career, I don't know how you had time for anything else.
It got close. It got really close in 2014 with the Devilment thing.
So Devilment was a band you were in with.
It was my band originally.
Okay.
And I had originally Simon Dawson, who's in British Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Guy called Kev Jackson, who was in Synaptic and Fifth Season and Inner Sanctum and all these.
So these were your Inner Sanctum I've heard of, definitely. Yeah.
So we had this thing going in Ipswich. I was drinking friends with Danny Filth.
Okay, from Cradle of Filth fame. Even I've heard of him. Yeah.
I've heard of him. And so, long and short of it was, I couldn't find the right vocalist in Ipswich or anywhere.
So you're doing guitar for this, writing the songs, getting it together, surrounded yourself with musicians for it, needed a vocalist.
Yeah.
Stumble across Danny Filth?
Well, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, well, I'll tell you what. That's not how he talks. He talks a lot more.
It is now, it is here.
I'll tell you what, I'll make him sound meaner. He's actually quite camp.
In my head, he's posh as hell.
Oh, he's fucking camp as hell.
He's like Marilyn Manson.
He minces. And he... I'm saying that with love, Danny, for listening, by the way.
He won't be listening to this, I guarantee
his fucking noise will be. So he was like, well, I'll sing on the demo and help you out, because that was the idea. He'd sing on some songs. And
until you could find a vocalist.
Yeah, but then he ended up enjoying it. He'd never done a side project.
Yeah.
Well, he was working on a side project, which never came to fruition, whatever the word is.
So this was post Cradle of Filth, is it?
No, he's still doing Cradle.
He's still doing that?
Yeah, so there was a weird thing where when he came in, we had to be like so quiet.
At the start.
Because he hadn't actually agreed it with his management
at
the time, his ex-management now.
Does that management have that much control over
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Even with him, even though... I can't really talk about their business arrangements, but even though there was like a share thing that was going on between the manager and had so much of the band, it was like a
Did that not raise... Because I'm raising a red flag when someone says that to me and said, perhaps I wouldn't be working with this fellow.
Yeah.
Did that not raise a red flag with you at the time?
No, not at the time. We were friends, so...
Sure. That's the thing with music, isn't it? It's sort of you want to do stuff together, but you forget that there is a business side to it, and there is a cutthroat, and there is a money making side to it. And I often forget that, and I've played on so many things and done so many things, and then just been forgotten or sidelined and stuff like that. Because you're mates at the time, but then when you walk away, you kind of not, and you think, fuck her.
Well, yeah, that's kind of one of the sort of sad stories of where I guess of my life is that every time something's become about money, regardless of music or whatever, when I've had to say to someone, oh, you owe me 20 quid, I'm the biggest arsehole in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely do.
And
I was saying to you about a festival that Danny and I played at last weekend, that we have to invoice them. And it was one particular very big local festival, actually, that didn't pay us for a month after we played it. And I sent them 2 or 3 emails, and I said, we have got over 200 invoices to pay, you know. Well, don't organise a fucking festival then, if you haven't got one. And literally, mate, it was 150 quid, for God's sake. And they couldn't, and eventually, and when I did remind them the third time, they did pay it. And it's like, well, sorry I'm such an inconvenience, but I was actually playing at your festival so that you could put a festival on, because without me and the rest of the artists, there wouldn't fucking be
one.
So
you needed my old...
did you have a ball-breaking manager with a cricket bat?
We had a guy called Juzzy in 13 Candles when I was about 20.
You know, 13 Candles is a name I've heard, definitely.
So we were going to play in Bristol.
Yeah.
And it was 4 bands, so we turned up, and the guy it was sold out apparently, right? And he'd sold, I think it was like 200 or 300 tickets. And we walked in this pub, and I kid you not, there's a video of it somewhere. You'd have been lucky to get 40 people in there, right? And the PA had it was like a little vocal PA. Now you're talking about
not like that little one I've got down there, that little 5-channel.
Not that exact thing, right?
Really?
With the most dodgiest fucking
well,
wiring.
Some geezer in Bristol sold me that for £10.
That's probably the one from Bristol, yeah.
No, he didn't.
Right.
I'm joking.
I think it was exactly one of those heads, right?
Yeah,
and
they were all the thing at one time.
And the worst wiring you'd ever seen in your life, like gaffer tapes up. You knew if you turned it on, someone was going to
So
die.
you're going to put a heavy metal band through this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
A drummer, keyboard player, guitarist, bass player, me, whatever, right? So me and the manager go walking in, look, laugh at each other, walk back out.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, his promoter, had never even seen the venue.
Oh, my God.
So at this point, all these people, so my manager said, we're not playing.
So for starters, he's oversubscribed it. 300 people are storming down there. There's a shit PA. The band's turned up. Like, fuck.
So there's a queue of these people trying to get in at 7 o'clock. This guy hadn't even turned up. So eventually he turns up, and Juzzy was the loveliest guy in the world. He's better.
You watch the quiet ones.
He's a big ball guy.
Right.
He's a bouncer. And he could pick up 2 Marshall cabs, one in each hand, with no problem at all.
Like those?
Yeah,
like
4x12s, yeah,
like
no
that,
problem. Just like that. Carrying like 2 shopping bags, right? So he sits there, this promoter turns up, and Juzzy and our manager got them saying, we're not playing. Oh, he goes, but you're paying us. And they marched him to the cash point, and we got paid and fucked off.
Bloody hell. Yeah, there's a couple of times in my life I could have done with that. I did get paid to shut up one time.
Yeah.
Do you remember the old glue pot down on Thingy Road there? Me and my mate.
I never went in there.
Sort of like mid-90s, late 90s. We played a little we had a little blues duo, harmonica and guitar. And we did about half hour's worth of set, and the landlady came up to us and said, my regulars don't like your protest songs. Right. I'll pay you what we owe you if you'll fuck off. So we did.
You started doing encore, pay us double.
I could have done with that dude a few times.
Yeah, he's great, man. He's great. One of the funny, I could spend hours talking about Juzzy. Yeah. But one of the funniest things we ever said, we sat at this pub, and this really quite attractive goth girl walked in, and he shouts out, this will wind people up. He says, if he sits on my belly, be like bloody tidal wave.
Oh my God. So this is the kind of dude we're dealing with. You want to do like that in your corner.
It's the 90s, man. Come on, you can't say some things now.
Anybody there, you know what I mean?
It was funny though.
Yeah. So mate, you briefly touched on Dead Soul Communion. Is that your current musical project?
I sort of stopped about, what was it now, 3 years ago, because I had 2 more little kids.
Okay,
so,
cool.
It kind of went on hold, but we had planned for 2020.
Because I did see also a little advert you'd put out about some recruiting some proper serious musicians. In the advert it was deadly serious. I mean, I'm a serious musician, and I was like, good God, yeah. I don't think I'm serious enough for that. Yeah.
Dead Soul was basically the original Devilment lineup.
Okay.
It was Kevin, it was Simon again.
Mm-hmm. Who you got for vocals this time, do you think?
It was me.
Mm-hmm. Without the Marlboro and Jack Daniels.
Yeah, without the Marlboro. But I mean, I've sort of realised that I cough and get quite phlegmy. Sorry if anyone's in their tea. On certain keys.
That makes me want to cough now.
Right? And I was watching a video that said that basically you're straining on certain parts, and it's your voice that's sort of giving you phlegm to lubricate.
To lubricate that particular bit. Okay.
So I was actually considering getting lessons.
Yeah. I think I had some very briefly, and it was all about breathing, which was me obviously playing the harmonica is something I was quite aware of, but where to sing on the note and which note and stuff like that. And then we did barbershop quartet, 4-part harmonies for stuff like that for A-level music. So, but I don't have the tone. I don't have it's the vocal tone that I'm completely missing. And I've heard your voice. The tone is there. The tone is everything. And the guy Danny I work with, I think it's great, mate. And I think it suits what you do.
I think everyone does. I think it's like you listen to yourself being recorded. You think, I just sound like a fucking farmer.
God knows what you're going to think when you listen back to this thing.
I know. Where are you getting on? Lovely old thing. Even I'll be able to stand myself.
Well, we're from where we're from, and we're proud of it. And like you say about the documentary and what we want to talk about this town, it's great to be able to talk about what's going on, and there's some music around here. Because I was telling you about the Globe opening up at the top of town, and we talked about the Mystery Grit Art Centre. That's not so much of a mystery as well. Yeah. So there's music going on. There's things happening again. I don't think it'll be the heady days at a brewery, which is where I definitely heard of 13 Candles. Was that your band?
Yeah.
Was that anything to do with John Knight? Was he in
there?
No. No? John Knight was another the only other heavy metal person I know.
Was his friends of mine. John Knight was in a Sanctum Fifth Season.
Fifth Season.
See Devoid.
Fifth Season. Devoid.
Really on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, 13 Candles. We were the ones that actually made the price of tickets to the brewery go up by £1.
Oh, did you? I thought that was Stewie's fault.
Oh, that's pre Stewie.
Was it?
So we had played 98.
Yeah.
And I think it was so people will correct me on this, but I think it was £2 to get in.
No one's listening. No one's correcting
That's
you
right.
on anything, mate. So you like.
And we put up to £3 and sold it out.
Oh wow.
They said you'll never sell out for £3. Well, we will. And it was that busy. I remember that they had to lock them 2 metal gates at the front.
Oh yeah.
And there was people outside there had just walked up to the shop.
Right.
And we're just this is like October.
Listening from
They left the doors open so people could listen.
It was a great venue, and I do hope that the Globe manages to capture at least, although it won't always be the sawdust on the floor of the brewery and stuff like that, at least some of the atmosphere with musos hanging around and stuff like that, because that's what we need.
It was like the shame with the Clermont period, wasn't it? I mean, I don't know if you went to that venue. That was a great venue, but it was just too big.
Yeah, it was. They'd be lost in it, weren't they?
Yeah,
Lost in it.
Like 900 cap. You know, I think I went and saw Electric Six there, and
Darkness do a comeback.
Yeah,
I
was still in Ipswich when that happened. I was living in Ipswich then. And who else did I see? Someone else. Young Guns. Just because of the hell of it, I didn't want a Young Guns fan, but it was like I'm going to go and support it, you know.
Yeah.
But there might have been 300-400 people in it, but fell empty.
Blimey, yeah.
You know, but it's like everyone kept saying, well, why didn't you? I remember playing a venue in Europe where they literally could get the entire stage and shove it halfway down the venue if they didn't sell it out. So then it felt busy. Do you know what I mean? If you had like 500 people.
So they literally would move the stage on wheels casters.
I'd like to say when we played there was still
it was
firmly at the back.
See, I noticed you've done some European bits and pieces. How do they come about? How does one go about getting gigs in Europe? Because Graham Phillips on before, and he sort of weighs it all up and organises himself, much as you would a gig at a local venue. He'll ring the venue directly and say, "Guten Tag, ich möchte einen Gig, bitte." As you do in German.
It was obviously
how does it come about?
The deal with Nuclear. I mean, Nuclear Blast probably are the biggest metal label now.
This is your old record label, yeah?
So they probably are the biggest. Roadrunner used to be the biggest, but the guy who signed us is a guy called Monty Connor. And he
They always have cool names, them guys, don't they?
New York guy.
Yeah.
And he was the head of Roadrunner until Roadrunner decided they would split everything up and go shit.
Right.
So they gave him his own label at Nuclear Blast. So it became Nuclear Blast Entertainment.
Nuclear Blast, okay. Yeah.
So he signed Slipknot.
Wow.
That was that guy. He signed all the original death metal stuff. He signed fucking anyone you can think of. He had Machine Head.
He was the guy.
He was the guy, right? So he was our A&R guy.
Wow.
So we had
Good
him.
guy to have in your corner,
So it's like, oh, we got him, and I think at the time he had us. He had Light the Torch, Devil You Know, which is now Light the Torch, which was Howard from Killswitch's new band. He had Fear Factory. He had
Fear
Machine
Factory,
Head.
mate.
Yeah.
Well, I worked for a t-shirt printing company. We made a lot of Fear Factory t-shirts, a lot of them. Mayhem as well, a few of those. Made Lamb of God. Made so many for Lamb of God. They're massive. These things. Yeah.
So we had him. So he was our A&R guy, and the funny thing was we're going to name drop now, so you can pick them up.
Hang on, there's carpet in here. They won't clang, so it's fine.
So at Download Festival in 2014, Matt Heafy from Trivium had his new black metal band that he wanted to play Monty Connor. And our manager had because we started recording the album even though we didn't have a deal, we said, well, we'll record the album, basically the idea was to sell it.
Were you sort of doing that off your own coin then?
So I pumped all the money.
Oh my God.
Thousands.
Man. Jesus.
I was like, right, this is my last shot, I'm just going to chuck everything I've got in.
Yeah.
Right? And eat less kebabs, that'd be fine. So he stood there and he had basically Matt Heafy, Trivium's fucking demo, and he had our rough mixes from the album. And Matt Heafy's going, look, listen, this. He went, no, I want some Devonwood stuff first.
Right.
And he signed us on the spot.
Amazing.
He went, I want them now.
Amazing. So then I take it the record company organised these tours for you.
So then he took us on. We signed the deal in the summer. It was about the July, I think.
Were you still working full time?
I was in corporate.
This is it. I made it.
There's no
I hate you
about that
all.
well.
Did you go into work one day and go, fuck you all?
Oh, it was brilliant.
3 weeks later.
I was allowed a maximum of 2 weeks off from work. Anything more than that had to be approved by board of directors, and I eventually got the month off to go on tour.
Yeah.
So it was I think it was just under 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So what happened is
how mad is that? Because I mean, I remember going on tour of America, Disney, Nashville, all that crap that I bored my listeners with before, and then coming back to school and just being kicked in a playground like I normally would for being a ginger kid and stuff like that. So how was it? Like,
I got dropped. I came back from the last show was in Milan.
Yeah.
So it was 24-hour bus drive back on the bus. Yeah. So I thought I've got 24 hours. So I got extremely drunk for about 12 hours, slept for 12 hours, got dropped off near the Dartford Tunnel where I picked my 4x4 up, and I was at work the next morning.
Oh my God.
And
I bet that felt very heavy metal.
Oh yeah. I basically, because we toured with a band called Motions and Right who were young American kids at the time.
Oh wow.
And they didn't drink, so they'd come and knock on our bus door and give me their 24 bottles of beer.
Oh
so I'd be like, well, it's free, I'm going to drink them. So for basically, I think I had one day I didn't drink for the entire 3.5 weeks.
Jesus.
So I was probably at work.
Yeah, so how was work then after that?
Like shakes.
But
it was detox.
Yeah, right. But must have been so odd with them guys. Like, so Daniel, how was your holiday? Did you have a nice time?
Yeah, it was great.
Crap like that.
I got back.
They given it that.
The sad thing was, about halfway through the tour, I decided I was going to leave anyway.
All right. So did you go home and hand your notice in?
Well, no, leave the band.
Oh, leave the band.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
I love band politics, mate. I'm going to ask you why.
Yeah, it's a long one. How much time have we got?
Well, condense it down. Who was the biggest cunt in the band? Do you know what? The funny thing was, I was talking to an old friend of mine, that's in Ryan Duffer, great bloke, and he said that every band has an arsehole, and that in his band, he was looking around the other members going, oh, they're all super nice guys. And then he said to me, it started to dawn on me, am I the arsehole?
I think
I'm not saying you were.
No.
Was there an arsehole in the band?
I think it was, like I said before about money, it was when
that again, yeah.
had, because I was on a lot of money from management. I mean, I've still...
So it's for the day job was a lot of money, yeah?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. So I was on quite a few grand from the recording that I hadn't received. The album had been pressed and was put out and was on sale
from your own from your own hard sweat off your back.
They were like, oh, we'll make sure you get your money for the tour.
Yeah.
So
your checks in a post.
I eventually did get that bit of money, but I never got paid for the tour. I never got paid for merch.
Oh my God.
And I'm still not quite getting the royalties.
Really?
I get 25%.
Oh my God.
Even now, I wrote.
So what would
10 songs on that.
What would you say then, as this is a DIY musicians podcast? What would you say is a piece of advice for any musician, young, middle aged, or however situation, finds himself in your thing where they're faced with it and thinking, I've got a bit of cash, I believe in this record, I'm going to sink some money. What would you say to them?
Well, it's different now because you're in the realms of digital.
Yeah.
So no one's really buying CDs.
No.
I mean, I think our album was successful because it sold 8,000 copies in the first week.
That's way more than all of my records all put together, mate.
If you think that back then, you go back 10 years, 80,000 copies would have been fairly cool.
Yeah, would have been number one. But number one, 30,000 get you number one.
Yeah. That's worldwide. So, I mean, because we obviously had pre-orders and all that stuff. You go, hey, is it only 8,000? They're like, yes, that's done really well. You're like, really? I'd have thought 50,000 would have been would have been all right, But then you kind of think, I mean, I think the tour cost 30,000 euros.
Wow.
For us to be on.
Jesus.
I mean, I remember seeing the breakdown of costs for stuff.
Yeah.
The mastering. The album cost 10k. The mastering was, I think, like 2 or something like that. Pressing, all this stuff. And you go, fuck me. We're never going to make this back.
No. And by the sound of it, you probably haven't.
I get little bits of money.
Yeah,
I get like £1.48 every now and then.
Sounds like my 5-yearly Spotify stream.
Yeah.
That does.
Yeah, I'm not sure. To be honest, I think I made more money. I did some sample stuff years ago, and I still get little bits of revenue from that.
From having the samples
from doing guitar sample stuff. I remember I was watching Netflix. What was the name of the bloody program? And I was like,
I recognise
that's fucking me playing guitar on that. But obviously you're not getting because I sold the sample packs. So I'm not getting the.
Well, see, I have used drum sample packs and stuff like that, and I always credit. I got in touch with the guy who made them, and they're acoustic, recorded drum samples, and I always credit him, whenever I use them and stuff like that. So, and I put him down on the PPL for it when I registered it with them. So hopefully he'll get even less than I do. So
there's a bunch. I mean, there's a bunch on that first album. There's a bunch of samples on there. Some of the orchestration is samples. Some of the violin stuff samples.
Yeah.
I mean, we almost had set you on the Seth Lakeman, the folk guy.
No.
It's quite, I say famous. You haven't heard of him, but he's a pretty
someone
prominent.
Curse me and say who he
is. He's been on this morning, he was going to play violin on 2 or 3 of the songs, and I've still got the recordings of them.
Yeah.
The band were like, we don't like it.
Oh God, yeah, sorry, but I guess you're right. With the days of digital, the outlay of money goes into channels into different things. And I was talking about this with Graham Phillips from Tupelo Lime, Tupelo Lime, and these days it wouldn't, all that, because it's home recording studios, recording technology has moved on and stuff like that, hasn't it? And the way you promote things, and the way that things are pushed out there to radio stations, and yeah, like you say, but the only thing that, and I keep hearing this, musicians make any money off these days is merch.
Yeah, merch and gigs.
And those are the things that probably cost you the most money back then, by the sound of it.
Yeah,
right in saying.
But I mean, it's like with now. I mean, you look at people like Sam Ryder. Huge YouTube sensation or whatever you want to say, right? And I'm looking at a lot of these guys and girls now. They're like, they'll basically go on YouTube, film themselves. They'll either do a cover version or they'll do an original track, and people watch that. And obviously, you get a certain amount of revenue from the advertising when you hit a certain amount of plays. Yeah, a lot of them do this Patreon stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just. I mean, you think like we looked at this last night, like, we only got 1,000 people that subscribe. Yeah, at £10 each every month.
Yeah.
There's 10k a month coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My ego won't allow me to do anything like that, because I don't think anybody would want to see anything I'm doing. So, unless you're a big boy, unless you've made it, I guess then that's the time to do it. I know Justin Hawkins does Patreon and does quite well out of it, but then he already had a reputation and already has a following that he then converts into that, and you want to support him and stuff.
But then, we behind the scenes stuff. What me making a cup of tea. Do you know what I mean?
There's a harmonica player I know who has a Patreon, and he's unbelievable. He's a harmonica player. Jason Ricky's name, Richie Ricky or whatever name, but it's frightening. I could live for 1,000,000 years and never be that good. I could put in 1,000 hours. He is absolutely unbelievable. But he has a Patreon, and one of the videos you say about making a cup of tea was him being stuck at an airport lounge. Because I've got a friend who subscribed to him for $5 a month. And one of the videos was him being stuck at an airport. Like, who the fuck's paying to watch that? But my mate Trevor did.
But that's the thing about YouTube, is that some of the stuff on there, you think, if you went to ITV and went, I want to make this show, they'd go, no.
Fuck off, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
If I watch some of the stuff my little one watches.
Oh, don't we watch
demonstrating toys. Yeah. They get like 50 billion views. And you're like,
unboxing and shit like that. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this in the pub last night, because everyone who isn't in the music industry is an obvious expert on what you should be doing.
Fucking reaction videos. Like, what the fuck? Sorry, but what the fuck is that? Like, there's a guy, right? The funniest thing I ever saw, this guy reacted to a guy reacting to a drummer.
Oh my God.
And
if you do that enough times, does time fold in on itself?
Yeah, it's like fucking like that. And people watch and even go on there and you go, this guy's had 6 million views of him reacting to
a reaction.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is that?
I don't know, mate. I don't understand the youngsters these days.
TikTok, what's that?
Well, this is what it came down to last night. The conversation in a pub with some friends of ours, and well-meaning, lovely people. But they say, what you want to do, Paul, is do a modern cover on the mouth organ. Do a modern cover on a mouth organ, and then to put it on TikTok. Like, I'll get loads of views, and then that'll draw people to your original music. And I thought, no one wants to see a fat middle-aged man play Billie Eilish on the mouth organ any day of the week, let alone on TikTok. Do you know what I mean? So why the fuck was that going to get me famous? And to be quite honest, being famous has never ever been anything that I've really, really wanted. All I've ever wanted, and is for people to say, "Fuck, he can play." That music you're playing there is.
I never even. People say, I'm talking shit. I never even wanted that.
No?
I never even wanted.
What was your goal?
My thing was.
Did you even have any?
My thing was always to sit back and listen to my album and enjoy it.
Yeah. Play music that you wanted to listen to.
To listen and go,
I've heard that. Great. I've heard Bod say that before. Because they've said, I couldn't find the music I wanted to listen to, so I created it myself. Is that where you're coming from?
I nicked all the best bits of other bands that I liked.
Well, it's a fine form of flattery, isn't it?
But I remember when we were on tour, all the band would get recognised, and we always used to go to the merch table after the gig and sign stuff and all that. And they'd all come up and ask the band for autographs and photographs and all this, and I'd just be stood there. They'd go, what time Lacuna Cool coming out? Because they thought I was fucking one of their roadies.
Right. Brilliant. You must have had a faded Metallica t-shirt on and a roll of tape.
I look like, because I was
a
obviously,
roll of tape and some Crocs.
Probably 10 years. Me and Danny were in our sort of late 30s, early 40s, or late 30s. And obviously the rest of the band were in their mid-20s. So they were young, beautiful little things,
well,
right?
Of course, yeah.
There's this old boy from fucking Suffolk stood there, you know what I mean? And, but yeah, there's things like that. I mean, I remember I used to like to talk to people, and because Moses and White had a really young audience. I remember we played in the Forum in London. I got up at 8 in the morning to go get a bacon butty, and there's little kids, but like there was, teenagers queuing up because they wanted to be at the front.
Right.
So I used to go and get them bottles of water off our rider.
Yeah.
Because I just thought they just sat there.
Oh, brilliant.
They probably got a bag of Watsits between them. Do you know what I mean? I didn't give them water. And then one night, because the Moses and White I always thought was quite mean, to be fair, they would never go out and meet the fans or sign all that, because they wanted to keep their
persona.
Yeah, and I thought,
image.
hang on, these people are paying your wages or whatever.
Absolutely. You'll laugh at the fans.
Go and say hello. And I used to go out and talk to them for hours.
Mate, if I ever had fans, ever got fans, they would be like in my dressing room. I
remember this.
There'd be nothing I wouldn't do for them. That'd be great.
Without, there's two young girls. Never.
That's a story we want to get into.
And these two young girls, one was English and one was from Australia, and they followed the entire European tour.
Wow.
They're Moses and White fans, right?
Yeah.
So this young, I don't know how old she is, maybe 16 or something. And I just go every night and give them a bottle of water.
Where did they get the money from?
Well, probably had rich parents in Australia.
Jesus Christ!
I know, but they followed. That was their thing. They wanted to follow the entire tour.
Well, I think I try and sort of look to the 5 people that do like my stuff, and then try to look after them. Do you know? You got to look after your fan. But I'm so appreciative that anyone listens to anything, and I think we forget that, and we're too obsessed with getting 5 to 10 million YouTube views, or it's a popularity contest, and I was never popular at school, so it's not going to fucking happen when I'm playing a beaver. I couldn't give a shit. But Daniel, you struck on a little minute ago there about gear, and I want to ask you about what kind of gear heavy metal people have, like guitars.
Well, I'll tell you what
amps,
gear I had.
Stuff. Don't upset yourself, because whenever I talk to musicians, they talk about the gear they had and had sold to pay bills, pay ex-wives, pay whatever, and stuff like that. What are you running at the moment, mate? What's your rig?
During Delman, I deal with BC Rich guitars.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the pointy sort of thingy ones.
Which weren't the best sounding guitars in the world, but they look cool.
They do look very cool.
They were free. Fucking awful. Actually, I did for the album, I used a Flying V. Yeah. And you can't sit. Anyone doesn't know what Flying V looks like.
Gibson Flying V, the original one.
Well, this was a BC Rich pointy Flying V.
Oh, I see.
So I couldn't sit down to play guitar, so I had to stand for the entire album to play all the guitar parts in. And that was like a £1,500 guitar.
Have I seen those? They've got a little kickstand on them. Some of them.
If they did, they should I needed it then.
They got a little. I'm sure I've seen one with a little stand that pops out the bottom.
And I've got quite a big belly, so because it's out here somewhere, right? But now I love my ESP stuff. And I've got like the Les Paul kind of shaped ones.
Yeah.
And I've used them for 15, 16 years.
How do they lend themselves better for heavy metal?
Well, I use
sort of powerful pickups and stuff like that.
They've got like EMG pickups, active pickups.
Floyd Rose,
locking
nuts and stuff like that.
So my ideal guitar would be fixed bridge, one pickup, no volume knob.
Fixed bridge, check you out.
Yeah, just because I don't do any of that solo shit.
Right, you're not a solo shooter.
I just chug in.
You see what my mate Danny, my guitarist friend who was round this morning, he was saying that it's all about the rhythms, because he's a Rammstein fan. He went to see him last week, and he said, there's not many solos. It's all about the rhythm.
That's exactly what I'm interested in.
But keeping that rhythm that they start up is fucking intense. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So
I'm all about that solid. I call it slab guitars. I did a video that 5 people watched, and that was about how I do recording. Basically, I've got 2 ESP guitars. Both Les Pauls, both have EMGs, but they sound a little bit different from each.
EMG pickups in it. Yeah.
So I have one on the left side, one on the right side.
Okay.
And I record the same part 4 times.
Wow.
And but they're all slightly different tone amps. All 5150s.
So you get the rhythm spot on for each of those 4 takes.
Every take.
And then just stereo spread?
Yeah, I obviously play the whole album like that. I don't copy and paste ever.
We do not
or switch them around
anything
on the second verse. And that's how I get that sound, is I have that, and then I lock in.
It's a really wide spread when you listen to it. It sounds huge.
Yeah, and I'm locking in on kick drums usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I do it. I mean, I'll play that part, and it's all about my palm muting as well. Like, there is literally millimetres, which I learned when I was doing the Deadman album. There was millimetre movements of palm muting that changes that tone.
So depending on how far
Sitting
your
where that
palm
is.
is sitting on those strings will give
Yeah.
you a totally different tone.
Drop C, open C tuning,
Okay.
really thick, heavy picks.
Yeah. Amazing. What about amps? What would you go for?
I
Or
was
do you use
50 on 50s,
What are
which are they're EVH, Eddie Van Halen's.
Okay,
Which is I used on the Delmont album. And
So do you not use DAW sounds and stuff like
now
that?
I do,
Now
it is, but they're all 50 on
great,
50s.
aren't they?
Yeah, I mean I've tried Mesa Boogie. I've got all 50 on 50 setups in there.
Yeah.
Which I use still. I tried Mesa Boogie, tried Marshall, but for the Delmont album it was a 5150 for a vintage Marshall cab.
Yeah.
4x12. So fucking killer.
So for heavy metal, do it mean because there's the age old like valves versus solid state and stuff
valves.
like that? Is that still
Valves.
relevant for heavy metal as well? Yeah, valves all the
Tube
way.
screamer and a gate pedal.
Yeah, it's a tube screamer.
Yeah, I bet.
SRV.
Yeah, that was it. That's why on tour I had. Did I have two? Actually, did I have a tube screamer on tour? I did. I had a tube screamer. My rig was a
Have you seen how much they are these days?
stupid money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just because only a person I ever heard use one was Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I saw I'm a bit of a Rhett Shull fan, the old YouTuber and stuff like that, and he was saying he's not a big fan of them because he said it's not a completely transparent sound, so it doesn't let the amp sound through so much.
Yeah,
but, I
there's
mean, I don't
differences, isn't
know.
there?
I don't know how true that is. I'm just literally parroting what he said, but I found it interesting. I really wanted a tube screamer until I saw how much they were. And I thought,
they're on for 200. I think there's a new version. There's like a mini one now.
yes, that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to be honest, now if I play live again, it wouldn't be.
Say if you play live, is there something on the cards to play live? I hope people have got in touch about that band.
There is. It's the band are there. It's just the old age vocal problem.
Oh, is it? Not searching for a vocalist again, are you, mate? Oh.
There's a certain person, or a certain type of person I want.
Yeah. Not your flatmate then. You don't want your flatmate singing for you?
Fuck him.
Were you ever involved? We're talking about the chap. I haven't met him, Mr. Darby. Were you ever at any part of the Bloodshed Chorus or anything like that? Oh yeah. Did you play for him?
Yeah, for a year. Yeah.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, I came out of Dublin 2 years out. I was in them.
Oh
it was
right.
Great.
So were we talking 2016, 2017-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's cool. They were heavy then, obviously, because I used to have my Devilment rig. So
right.
that's what I was using.
Mr. Gav Marion on drums.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a legend. I was known Gav for years.
Again,
he's the funniest, nicest bloke I've ever.
Hours of stories about him.
Oh right, if you could get him away from his own stories, I've literally sat there till 6 a.m. some nights with that bloke. My face hurting because he just starts with another Jackanory and another one and another one.
It's always got, oh god, lives in a shed now, you know.
Yeah, I've seen the build project on that. Such a dude.
You should get Darby and him on here.
I don't know if Darby would, but
I
definitely, if Mav, if you ever listen to this kind of thing, I'm not sure it's his kind of thing, but I'd love to have him in for a chat just because he's a dude, and he would just make me laugh the whole time. To be honest.
Yeah, I got loads of stories I could tell you about him, but I probably can't.
It's a well-deserved reputation.
Yes.
That's all we'll say. So yeah, that's awesome. So when do you expect this band to be? What's the plan, mate? What's the plan? Keep looking for a vocalist.
Yeah, I mean,
get the songs together.
I'm working on stuff now, or thinking about it.
Thinking about maybe working on some songs.
Yeah, I mean, is
that sort of indicative of your sort of attitude towards your music these days? A bit more sort of relaxed about it, a bit kind of like, because you've had a very productive,
everything's kind of planned out.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the biggest difference I noticed when I moved from Lowestoft to Ipswich. That the bands there just seemed like they'd planned everything that bit more.
Yeah.
Bands who are like, we'll rehearse a set, we'll get time, we'll do a gig.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you expect to do.
Where are you going to gig? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
come along.
We'll play them wherever it was, right? And but there it seemed they paid a little bit more attention to detail,
Danny and I
movements.
Danny and I had a 3-year plan. It was basically get the songs together the first year, record an EP, the next year go out and get gig anywhere for no money, just wherever, and then year 3, which we'll be getting into next year, start charging some bit of money, and maybe if they'll have us play some more sort of upmarket gigs, and then record another EP, do a video. So that was a bit more of a plan of what we've got going on, if you like. I
mean, the thing with the new project is that you won't know who's in the band.
Okay.
Because
are you doing a Slipknot with masks?
Not necessarily that. It's more, I like the idea that I can walk off stage without someone bugging me.
Okay. Now that seems loaded.
Do you know what I mean?
What's that about? Who's
It will
bugging you
all
on stage?
No,
mate?
but do you know what I mean? Like, it will all become clear later if I ever actually... Because the band are all sat there all ready to go. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like, well, we'll put the set together. Because the whole thing's
So
kind
do you walk off stage halfway? Are you talking about halfway through the set, or what are you talking about?
It'll just be... what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word, but like... I like the idea that it's the show and the music that's the thing,
Right.
not the guys on stage.
You
That
see,
makes
now,
sense?
heavy metal has always seemed very theatre to me as well.
Yeah.
So you want to get some theatrics in there and stuff
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
like, the thing we're doing, we're doing a covers band, basically. But as opposed to, like, 5 blokes in jeans and T-shirts going, all right, here's one by the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Right, it's a little bit more... We want it to come across more like a rave is.
Okay.
So, like, with a rave, it will just keep building,
wow,
and it never kind of stops. Each song goes into each one.
Right.
There's not a break for a swig of water. It just keeps building.
Okay.
So that's the idea, is we do it more like a DJ
like a
set.
theatre,
Yeah.
theatre production, like a kind of. That's really interesting.
So
because
it's a show. So it's like
that's
you rehearse
way
it
more
as
effort.
one song. You
Yeah.
know, so everything links into each other's song. I remember seeing a band years ago, and they were doing fade outs, and that was incredible.
Wow.
I was like,
on stage live.
on stage live.
Jesus.
I was like, you could
just dynamically, just
yeah,
playing
just
choir.
the drummer would go down.
Wow.
I was working at Ponton's Oldie Camp for a while, and this band were doing that. I was like, I know you're doing Bon Jovi, but you don't have to fade it out.
They would
Because they literally
like the record.
Not the record. You know, mine jumped on a verse. Because I'd scratched it. You know,
Did you ever have a tape recording that you've done of a vinyl that had a skip in it?
Oh, yeah.
And then like it was on the tape forever. I had a Rolling Stones track like that, and I thought that's how the track went.
Yeah. But yeah, like.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
So just some dynamics, just a theatre show more than anything else, which is next level, really. It's not just a gig people
all
are going to.
backlit. So
yeah,
you know, we the idea is that we kind of stand and play, and it's about the audience's perception and their, like, you know, you go to a nightclub, you don't stand there watching the DJ.
God no.
You're in there dancing with your mates. And
so it's more of a sort of immersive, sort of submersive experience
I like
than
the
it
idea
is
of
audience and gig. Because I think that's a barrier
Yeah.
that some musicians kind of like. Like we feel like because we're elevated above them, you know, they're watching us, they've paid to see us, they're, you know, almost like a TV.
I mean, one of the other ideas was we were going to do it in the round. So when I say in the round, not like where you got the band in the middle, that actually the audience are in the middle. So we'd have the drummer on the stage.
Yeah.
I'd be on a podium over here. He'd be on a podium over here, and he'd be over here because it was all wireless.
That's a fascinating concept, mate.
So you're actually playing in the crowd.
And I guess with in-ear monitor, and you could hear each other anyway, so it doesn't matter where you are, in a way.
That was an idea. And
Wow,
then the
that's
singer
great.
would be the singers.
Yeah.
Because I think we'd have to have 2 singers. Would be in the audience.
Amazing.
So it'd become like this immersive, like you're saying, this immersive thing where everyone's in it together.
We're all in it together. We're all in the same boat. We're not in the same boat. We're in the same ocean.
Yeah.
Except you're on a
Fucking
liner
sinking.
and I'm in a dinghy. Is what it is, mate. Well, that sounds really interesting, dude. That sounds fascinating. Is there a name for this project?
I0.
I0. Sort of like on and off, like I-O, like the
No,
symbols?
as in IZERO.
Oh, I see.
But like a lowercase I, like iPod or iPhone or.
Oh, right, or I.
So it's all very digital. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying about I wouldn't go back to using, you know, real amps. I'd do it all, you know, through Line 6 pods or there's this stuff called Head Rush.
Yeah. So it's quite
It's
quite progressive and digital stuff. Wow, mate, that sounds even
Yeah, and
fascinating.
the band have got great.
Yeah.
So, you know, the 4 guys that I'm with are like, couldn't have asked for better drummer,
Fantastic.
better bass player, better keyboard player.
Oh, mate, it's all coming together.
You know,
Yeah,
so
and that was from that advert you put out the other week.
the band was already there.
Oh, so this is literally
Yeah,
for
it was like, you know, I've got these guys that I just go, hey, I'm doing a thing. They're like, yep.
superb,
Yeah.
superb. It's nice to, like, I find, because you're talking about your sort of music evolving. It's been about 30 years now, and mine 35. I feel like I'm at a stage where I can find people like that and say, hey, I've got this project going on.
Yeah.
Do you fancy it? And I've got guys go, yeah, I'd love to, man. And that's a lovely place to be, I think.
Yeah,
And
it's horrible because, like, next year, the 13 Candles album I did turns 25. And
I love stuff like that.
And the conversations happened. And
it was a get together.
it was close. I think the the drummer, unfortunately lost his daughter a couple of years ago.
Oh, mate.
He's not in that. play shit.
Can't blame him.
So,
Can't blame him. Yeah,
you know,
fair.
and that's fine. So that isn't happening as far as I know. But then other things like, you know, the Devilment album turns 10 in a couple of years, and that's kind of, I wouldn't put any money on the fact that any of us will be in the same room again ever again. The only person I speak to is a drummer.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, someone did suggest about my harmonica group getting together and stuff like that, but I've been estranged from my brother now for 12 years, which is sad as hell. But so that's not going to happen. I don't think there's two of them I don't think play harmonica or haven't done since then. But as far as other band gets together, I don't think I've done anything significant enough to warrant it. To be quite honest. But mate, I'm super impressed, and you know, privileged to have you here to talk about that level of experience, because sounds like you've kicked it to some levels that some of us could probably only ever dream of, and that must be really something to be proud of, right?
Yeah,
Something
I mean, you know, I still have
bore the shit out of the grandchildren with.
yeah. What's weird, my eldest daughter Alice, about a year ago, had gone onto YouTube and found interview videos.
Oh, really?
I went, Dad, you're famous. I went, no, I never was famous. She's like, but you're on the videos. I was like, yeah, but you know. So it's only had 300 views, Alice. Like, no one gives a shit. You know, like, so,
yeah.
But you know, I mean,
it's funny how we quantify that sort of success, isn't it?
But
Stuff
it is.
like that. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I just think the fact that, you know, you'd been interviewed at all is fantastic, to be quite honest, because most of the time, you know, most of us no one gives a shit about what we've got to say.
But that's the thing. I love doing being on tour. I kind of did the B press, like Phil would do the A press, and I kind of do the ones he didn't want to do. And
they almost might like ask the more interesting questions.
Yeah, but they were like young fanzines.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was 18, I had a little fanzine.
Because they seem to have, and I didn't want to get into it, and it seems quite interesting because you've had quite a prolific career, and I didn't want to get into the regular questions. So tell me about this very famous album, and how did that come about? And personal journey seemed to be one I've got into a habit of doing a lot of. So it's why I wanted to talk to you about heavy metal and your passion for it and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a way, and I think we could ask more interesting bloody questions.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I used to love it because, to me, they got in the gig for free. And to be honest, a lot of famous rock stars, whatever, probably wouldn't give a shit. Well, I was always made sure that I was super nice to them. You know, I'd offer them a beer if I had some beer there.
Yeah.
And I did it with the people who used to hang outside the gig.
Yeah.
Like my band would go out and be all fucking rock starry, right? And I'd go out and go, hello, how are you, mate?
All right, mate.
Do you know what I mean? And then suddenly they go, oh, you're the guy from Devilment or whatever, right? And I'd be accused by my band members of being egotistic. But if you actually fucking listen, like you wouldn't come out and talk to him, but I would. But if you actually come out and listen to what I was talking to him about, you'd find I wasn't talking about myself.
No, yeah.
Like, where are you from then?
That's a difference, isn't it?
Is Bristol good? Do you like London?
Yeah,
you live in London? You know what I mean? Like, I was interested in them.
Yeah.
The same as I go to a pub.
Yes,
and you talk to someone.
Well, you're also a tradesman as well, and tradesmen always do a good line in sort of, you know,
bullshit. But yeah, as well, I guess I was probably 10 years old then, so you know.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, once you get past the age of sort of 30ish, you sort of lose that. You lose that barrier comes down of worrying whether you sort of give less of a shit, don't you?
Yeah.
And sort of now I'm good, like I say, in my mid-40s, I really couldn't give a fuck. And there's anyone standing around that's even remotely interested in what it is I'm doing. I'm talking to them and asking them how they are, and you know how they got there, and you know, have you had a good day and stuff like that. Do you want a drink? And you know, we're all. I mean, because like it's more of a social occasion because I don't get out anymore.
Yeah.
When you are out at a gig, it's like, hey, there's people. I'm not sat inside in front of the TV.
I know why some customers never phone me back again. Ain't because of me work. I think it's because I just talk absolute shite. And in my head, I hear myself going, shut the fuck up. They're bored. The eyes are rolling over. Shut the fuck up. And I still go, oh, what? Let me tell you about this.
Let me tell you about that time I was in the band. Yeah, my boy rolls his eyes at like, oh, when I was in the band, go on, tell me about the time you were on TV, Dad. You know,
actually, weirdly, about 2 weeks ago, I got recognised. I was doing a job and someone recognised me.
Did he?
And they went, you're in a band?
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, he's playing. Was it Devilman? And I went, yeah.
Bloody hell.
And I was
Fans
like, how
creeping in everywhere, mate. Fantastic.
He'd sort of looked at me and he'd somehow, I don't know how, I did. God, I've got to ask him, but yeah, he knew I was in Devilman.
When anyone says that to me, I just wonder if I owe money.
Maybe.
I've been married a long time now, so this isn't relevant, but it used to be. Did I touch your girlfriend? I'm sorry, mate. Did I chat your girlfriend up, or did I do something inappropriate? I'm sorry, I was very drunk. I'm an arsehole.
Yeah,
but you have a free punch.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's about music, so that's a relief. Well, look, Daniel, mate, we've come to the top of the hour, and I really, really appreciate you coming over and speaking to me about this stuff, mate, and getting in touch. Please get in touch if you want to come and talk about your music or about the music scene in general, or about just come and have a chat about tunes. I don't care, it's great. But mate, I'm going to put some links into where people can find your music.
Yeah,
we're keeping a lookout for I0 at the moment, are we? It's the main one.
Next year.
Yeah, okay,
next
mate.
Year.
Well,
I think the plan is to get into rehearsals.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ,
are you using a local studio? Are you using a cafe?
Yeah, but either be here or be in Ipswich. I don't know. We actually might even be Norwich.
They've got some
Norwich.
good
So
there,
I mean,
central place.
Yeah, we somewhere. I mean, I think at the minute it's just going to be getting that initial set together.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend months in a studio, so it'll be getting the initial set together and then
rehearse it up as hell, and then go in and do it like live, stand round. Yeah, good.
I hate rehearsing.
Well, mate, thanks ever so much for coming over, and hope to speak to you again soon.
Thanks, dude.
Take it easy.